Hello and welcome to this final exploring session, first look exploring session that is, looking at Englishmen For My Money, or A Woman Will Have Her Will by William Haughton. We are two-thirds of the way into the play. We're about to enter Act 4. There's someone swinging in a basket, suspended in the air. There's an awful lot of people running around, trying to get into places, trying to get out of play. It's all dark. Nobody can see anything. So hilarious comedies ensuing. Discuss. And to complete the session, to complete the play this session, we have this wonderful assembled array of readers to find out how the play's all gonna end. So reading today, Pisaro is
Lois Potter, retired academic in London.
Reading Marina and Alvaro today is...
Hello, Helen Good, retired academic in Hull.
Reading Laurentia and Delion today is...
Sarah Blake, actor, writer and director in Germany.
Reading Heigham and more today is...
Julie Hoverson, a podcast writer producer from Seattle.
Reading Walgrave and Brown today is...
Hello, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam.
Reading Mathea and Bellman is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a teacher and I live south of Julie in Seattle, but not much. All things being relative.
Reading Frisco and Balsaro is...
I am Eric, and I'm ready to get frisky. That doesn't sound weird at all.
Indeed. Reading Anthony and Vandal is...
Alan Scott, based in Suffolk in the UK.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions. I will also be reading Harvey, most probably, because I can't find a way not to. So without further ado, we're going to dive into Act 4, and we're going to have some return stage time from Pisaro, who hasn't said very much for a while.
I'll put the light out, lest I be espied. For closely I have stolen me forth of doors, that I might know how my 3 sons have sped. Now, afore God, my heart is passing light, that I have overreached the Englishman. Master Vandal, many such nights will swage your big swollen bulk and make it lank. When I was young, yet though my hairs be grey, I have a young man's spirit to the death, and can as nimbly trip it with a girl as those which fold the springtide in their beards. Lord, how the very thought of former times supples these near-dried limbs with activeness. Well, thoughts are shadows, sooner lost than seen. Now to my daughters and their merry night. I hope Alvaro and his company have read to them moral philosophy, and they are full with it. Here I'll stay and tarry till my gallant youths come forth.
Madman,
And indeed,
wild...
sorry, I apologise. The gallant youths indeed do enter Harvey, Walgrave and him.
You madman, wild oats madcap, where art thou?
Here, afore.
Oh, where? What love is! Ned hath found the scent, and if the coney catch to miss her borough, she's o'erborne, if she cannot stand it.
I know that voice, or I am much deceived.
Come, why loiter we? This is the door. But soft, here's one asleep.
Come, let me feel. Oh, 'tis some rogue or other. Spurn him, spurn him.
Be not so wilful, prithee, let him lie.
Back, come back, for we are past the house. Yonder's Mathea's chamber with the light.
Well, fair ahead, or I had been descried. God's me, what makes the youngsters here so late? I am a rogue and spurn him? Well, Jack Sauce, the rogue is waking yet to spoil your sport.
Matt, Mistress Mathea, where be these girls?
Enter Mathea alone above.
Who's there below?
Thy Ned, kind Ned, thine honest, trusty Ned.
No,
Matt.
no.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a typo. No, it is the Frenchman in his stead. That Mr. Motley coat that can dissemble. Hear you, Frenchmen, pack your whores in France. Though I am Portingale by my father's side, and therefore should be lustful, wanton, light. Yet, Goodman Goosecap, I will let you know that I have so much English by my mother that no base, slavering French shall make me stoop. And so, Sir Dandelion, fare you well.
What? Speechless? Not a word? Why, how now, Ned?
The wench hath ta'en him down, he hangs his head.
You, Dandelion, you that talk so well, hark you a word or two, good Mistress Matt. Did you appoint your friends to meet you here, and being come, tell us of whores in France? A Spanish jennet and an English mare, a mongrel, half a dog and half a bitch, with trandido, dildido, and I know not what. Hear you, if you'll run away with Ned, and be content to take me as you find me, why so? La, I am yours. If otherwise, you'll change your Ned to be a Frenchman's trowel. Why then, Madame Delion, je vous laisserai adieu à la bonne fortune.
That voice assures me that it is my love. Say truly, art thou my Ned? Art thou my love?
Swounds, who should I be but Ned? You make me swear.
Enter above Marina.
Who speak you to? Mathea? Who's below?
Marina.
Young Master Harvey, for that voice saith so.
Enter Laurentia.
Speak, Sister Matt, is not my true love there?
Ned is?
Not Master Heigham?
Laurentia, here.
I' faith thou art welcome.
Better cannot fall.
Sweet, so art thou.
As much to mine.
Nay, gentles, welcome all.
Here's cunning harlotries. They feed these off with welcome and kind words, while other lads revel in that delight they should possess. Good girls, I promise you, I like you well.
Say, Master Harvey, saw you as you came that lecher which my sire appoints my man? I mean that wanton base Italian, that Spanish leather spruce companion, that antique ache tricked up in fashion. Had the ass come, I'd learn him difference been betwixt an English gentleman and him.
How would you use him, sweet, if he should come?
Nay, nothing sweet, but only wash his crown. Why, the ass woos in such an amorous key that he presumes no wench should say him nay. He slavers on his fingers, wipes his bill and swears, "I' faith you shall, and in faith I will." And I am almost mad to bide his wooing.
Look, what he said in word, I'll act in doing.
Eve thought of him, for day steals on apace, and to our loves. Will you perform your words? All things are ready, and the parson stands to join in hearts, our hearts in hands. Night favours us, the thing is quickly done. Then truss up bag and baggage and be gone. And ere the morning, to augment your joys, will make you mothers of 6 goodly boys.
Promise them 3, good Ned, and say no more.
But I'll get 3, and if I get not 4.
There's a sound card at maw, lusty lad. Your father thought him well when 1 he had.
What say you, sweets? Will you perform your words?
Love to true love no lesser meed affords. We say we love you, and that's love's fair breath shall lead us with you round about the earth, and that our love's vows, words may all prove true. Prepare your arms, and thus we fly to you.
And they embrace.
This works like wax. Now, ere tomorrow day, if you two ply it, but as well as I, we'll work our lands out of Pisaro's daughters and cancel all our bonds in their great bellies. When the slave knows it, how the rogue will curse.
Sweetheart,
Matt.
where art thou?
Here.
Oh, Jesu, here's our father.
The devil he is!
Master Pisaro, 20 times good morrow!
A good morrow. Now I tell you, gentlemen, you wrong and move my patience overmuch. What? Will you rob me, kill me, cut my throat, and set mine own blood here against me too? You hussiffs, baggages, or what is worse, willful, stubborn, and disobedient. Use it not, gentlemen, abuse me not. Newgate hath room. There's law enough in England.
Be not so testy. Hear what we can say.
Will you be wived? First learn to keep a wife. Learn to be thrifty. Learn to keep your lands. And learn to pay your debts too, I advise, else.
What else? What lands? What debts? What will you do? Have you our land in mortgage for your money? Nay, since 'tis so, we owe you not a penny. Fret not, fume not, never bend the brow. You taken the 100 more than law. We can complain, extortion, simony. Newgate hath room, there's laws enough in England.
Prithee, have done.
Prithee mean no prithies. Here is my wife. Sblood, touch her if thou darest. Hear'st thou, I'll lie with her before thy face, against the cross in cheek, here, anywhere. What, you crafty fox, you?
Ed, stop there.
Nay, nay, speak out. Bear witness, gentlemen. Where's Moosh? Charge my musket. Bring me my bill. For here are some that mean to rob thy master.
Enter Anthony.
I'm a fox with you. Well, Jack Sauce, beware lest for a goose I prey on you.
Exeunt, Pisaro, and daughters.
In, baggages. Moosh, make fast the door.
A vengeance on ill luck.
What? Never storm, but bridle anger with wise government.
Whom? Anthony, our friend. Ah, now our hopes are found too light to balance our ill haps.
Shut now say so, for Anthony is not devoid of means to help his friends.
Swounds, what a devil made he forth so late? I'll lay my life 'twas he that feigned to sleep, and we, all unsuspicious, termed a rogue. Oh God, had I but known him, if I had, I would have writ such letters with my sword upon the bald skin of his parching pate, that he should ne'er have lived to cross us more.
These menaces are vain and help us naught. But I have, in the depth of my conceit, found out a more material stratagem. Hark, Master Walgrave, yours craves quick dispatch. About it straight. Stay not to say farewell.
And exit Walgrave.
You, Master Heigham, hie you to your chamber, and stir not forth. My shadow, or myself, will in the morning early visit you. Build on my promise, sir, and so, good night.
And exit Heigham. We're going to pause there. There's no really particularly good place to pause because the action is fairly continuous. But yes, we have broadly speaking, the Pisaro comes on, talks about the person who's hanging above in a basket. So I wonder if that's going to lead to anything, or it's just a nice little irony. Then, of course, he hides, and everyone comes on, and broadly speaking, he overhears what they're planning on doing. And just as the ladies come down, that stage direction they embrace clearly doesn't quite work. That's a bit odd. Yeah, there's all sorts of interesting things going on there. Lois, then Alan.
Yeah, there's a lot that seems very weird here. I mean, I don't think Pisaro can be talking about Vandal in the basket. I think he's talking about, I think he's assuming that his three intended suitors have all spent the night with the girls, and that Vandal is now, although apparently a very fat man, has sweated or worn himself out with an extremely exciting night.
Oh, he doesn't know he's in the basket. I didn't mean to say he knew he was in the basket, but the man is above him in the basket at this moment.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, he's certainly the guy is above him in the basket, but he's talking on the assumption that he's been inside. But I really couldn't quite work this out. I mean, he seems to be assuming for about half the scene that these young guys, the Englishmen, are talking rubbish. I mean, assuming they're going to have a great night with the girls who are in fact with the other men. And then at some point, but it's not very clear when, he realizes that that this isn't the case. I mean, I think that they're planning to break in. I don't know. Maybe we're going to discover that he still thinks the other guys are inside. But I found it confusing anyway.
There was one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'll go to Alan, then I'll go to Julie.
Yeah, what puzzled me was that opening speech of Pisaro almost seemed to show him with a sense of humour, which we've had no trace of whatsoever before. You know, he's always been a bit of a cardboard cutout ogre type prior to that point. And that speech just didn't seem to fit with his characters previously established.
I don't know. I thought some of his earlier speeches also showed a kind of interiority that nobody else had. I mean, much more variety than most of the characters.
Julie.
Oh, I was just looking for the line, but I thought there was a line somewhere that it sounded like Pisaro actually, like he was complimenting his daughters on being in on this whole setup, and that these guys were going to be mistaken, you know, because even though we all know that he set those guys on them, but I can't find it now.
Yeah, I wasn't really confused with the flow of where it was all going in per se. You know, in the sense that initially, yes, he thinks the men entering are you know, too late, and then he's going, well, they're trying to have both sets of men. That's a bit disturbing, and then they come down and join them. So there's still room for all sorts of manoeuvre there in terms of what he thinks. Lynn.
Yeah. So in Pisaro's first speech, he talks about, maybe Master Vandal has worked off some of his chubbiness, poking my daughter. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he has these lines about, oh yeah, when I was young, you know, how the thoughts of former times supples these near-dried limbs with activeness. Well, thoughts are shadows. I hope my daughters had a merry night. So it's like the juxtaposition of his imagining his daughter's basically wedding nights and his own sexuality. That is just grossing me out. That, like, ew.
Yeah. As the ladies come out and join their lovers, and you know, come down from above and join them. At which point he leaps out, decides at that point to leap out, and challenge everyone.
Yeah.
Helen, then Lois.
Yeah, just a small technical point about usury. The legal rate was 10 in the 100. That's 10% per annum, but not compound. Now, what the man is saying is, you can't take us to court because you're behaving illegally because you're taking 20%.
Yeah.
That's doesn't actually get us any further on, but it just clears up a point in case anybody was confused.
Yeah. Lois.
Yeah, I think the speech that Julia was referring to, which I still find puzzling, maybe because I don't get the tone of it right, is this aside of Pisaro's.
Yeah.
You know, here's cunning harlotries. They feed these, the English ones, off with welcome and kind words, while other lads, you know, the foreign ones, revel in that delight they should possess. Good girls, I promise you, I like you well. Does he really mean he's delighted that they're having somehow trying to keep two sets of suitors happy and presumably wanting both of them, or does he mean, or is he being sarcastic about them? And I don't know, the whole thing I just found really confusing.
It does sound like. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go, Julie.
I mean, it does sound like he thinks his daughters are on his side, even though everything they've said has made it very clear that they are not working with him.
Yeah.
You know, like he's totally confused and thinks that his daughters are going to marry the right ones and keep these ones at bay. And he also, it's almost as if he's kind of treating them like sons. I mean, if you look at the double standard, you know, you want to get your sons in with somebody. You don't want your daughters to get that, you know. I mean, it's such a weird thing. I don't know.
It seems that he's just thinking, yes, they're on his side. They're you know, maybe there's a creeping sense of that this scene is going wrong. It's only when they come down out of it to embrace their English sweethearts that he steps out and goes, "Hang on, no, this is not the thing." So it does seem that there is a bit of a journey there. Francis.
Yeah, complete change of subject. Anthony pops up again in this scene as the sort of lover's helper. And something that's been puzzling me throughout this play is that all the other characters have a very clear objective, except Anthony. What's in it for him? Why is he helping these young lovers? You know, there's no obvious advantage to him. And in that sense, he just feels like a plot device.
Yep. That's what he is, basically. He's just there to move the plot along. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. Of just maybe he's just nice, or maybe he's just there structurally to move the plot along. Alan, then Lynn, and then we'll move forward.
The other possibility, of course, is it's patriotism of a peculiar sort. He's draped in a St. George's flag.
Yeah, that might work. Lynn.
Yeah, his Anthony's rough equivalent in classical new comedy, the clever servant, often gets his freedom as a reward for having helped the younger generation who will take over when the older generation passes. So he doesn't seem to have a motive. He never even has a moment where he says, I just like these guys, or this is just fun for me, or I know if everything works out, the English lovers will reward me. Yeah, we have no idea why he's on the side of Harvey, Heigham, and Walgrave.
Yeah.
Eric.
Yeah, there is that sense that he is kind of supporting the younger generation, sort of like Moscow in Every Man in His Humors, I think it was. Or A Humorous Days from Earth, I can't remember one of the two. And just kind of, there's no real explanation as to his motive, but it's interesting to watch.
Anyway, we're going to find out more of Anthony, because Anthony's just here to just say, go off and do a thing, without telling us actually what the thing is, or in fact telling the person who's got to go and do the thing what the thing is. So that's interesting. Anyway, he's now turns to Harvey, as the other two suitors have exited.
Last, yet as great in love as to the first. If you remember, once I told a jest, how, feigning to be sick, a friend of mine possessed the happy issue of his love. That counterfeited humour must you play. I need not to instruct, you can conceive. Use Master Brown, your host, as chief in this. But first, to make the matter seem more true, sickly and sadly bid the churl good night. I hear him at the window. There he is.
Enter Pisaro above.
Now for a trick to overreach the devil. I tell you, sir, you wrong my master much, and then to make amends you give hard words. He hath been a friend to you, nay more, a father. I promise you, 'tis most urgently done, ungently done.
Aye, well said, Moosh. Now I see thy love, and thou shalt see mine one day, if I live. None but my daughter, sir, hangs for your tooth. I'd rather see them hanged first ere you get them.
Master Pisaro, hear a dead man speak. who sings the woeful accents of his end. I do confess I love, then let not love prove the sad engine of my life's remove. Marina's rich possession was my bliss, then in her loss all joy eclipsed is. As every plant takes virtue of the sun, so from her eyes this life and being sprung, but now debarred of those clear shining rays, death for earth gapes, and earth to death obeys. Each word thou spakest, oh, speak not so again, bore death's true image on the word engraven, which as it flew, mixed with heaven's airy breath, summoned the dreadful sessions of my death. I leave thee to thy wish, and may the event prove equal to thy hope and heart's content. Marina, to that hap that happiest is, my body to the grave, my soul to bliss. Have I done well? Exit Harvey.
Excellent, well, in troth.
I go. Your words move me as much as doth a stone being cast against the air. But soft, what light is that? What folks be those? Oh, 'tis Alvaro and his other friends. I'll down and let them in.
And exit Pisaro. Enter Bellman, Frisco, Vandal, Delion, and Alvaro.
Where are we now?
Vandal? Sorry, isn't he still in the basket?
Probably yes. I'm just reading what's on the page.
Okay, sorry.
But I suspect that that's wrong, so that's fine.
Continue.
Yes, Frisco, take it away.
Where are we now, Gaffer Buttrick?
Why, now you're not quite friars. There be your wits.
Be this croche friars? Ne te padre dar, tak you that. We shall trouble you so far, no far.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen. Good night. Good night, Frisco.
Exit Bellman.
Very well, Buttrick. What a clown it is. Come on, my monsters, merrily. I'll knock at the door.
Who's there? Are three wise worse? Blockhead, our man. Had he not been, they might have hanged themselves for any wenches they had hit upon. Good morrow, all. Good day, and I know not whether.
Monsieur Lamouche, what make you out this house so late?
Enter Pisaro below.
What, young men and sluggards? Fie for shame. You trifle time at home about vain toys, whilst others in the meantime steal your brides. I tell you, sir, the English gentlemen had well nigh mated you and me and all. The doors were open and the girls abroad, their sweethearts ready to receive them too. And gone, forsooth, they had been, had not I think by revelation, stopped their flight. But I have cooped them up, and so will keep them. But, Sir Frisco, where's the man I sent for? Whose cloak have you got there? How now? Where's Vandal?
Forsooth, he's not here. Master Mendel, you mean, do you not?
Why, loggerhead, him I sent for. Where is he? Where hast thou been? How hast thou spent thy time? Did I not send thee to my son, Vandal?
Hi, Monsieur Mendel. Why, forsooth, I was at his chamber, and we were coming hitherward, and he was very hot, and bade me carry his cloak. And I no sooner had it, but he, being very light, fricks me down on the left hand, and I turned down on the left hand, and so lost him.
Why, then you turned together, ass.
No, sir, we never saw one another since.
Why, turned you not both on the left hand?
No, forsooth, we turned both on the left hand.
Hey day, why, yet you went both together.
No, we went clean contrary one from another.
Why, dolt, why, patch, why, ass, on which hand turned ye?
Alas, I cannot tell, forsooth. It was so dark I could not see on which hand we turned, but I'm sure we turned one way.
Was ever a creature plagued with such a dolt? My son Vandal now hath lost himself, and shall all night go straying about the town, or meet with some strange watch that knows him not, and all by such an arrant ass as this.
No, you may soon smell the Dutchman's lodging. Now for a figure. Out, alas, What's yonder?
Where?
Hey, a basket. It turns, ho.
Oh, peace, ye villain. Let's see who's there. Go, look about the house. Where are our weapons? What might this mean?
Look. There's one in it. He peeps out. Is there near a stone here to hurl at his nose?
What? Would thou break my windows with a stone? How now? Who's there? Aye, who are you, sir?
Look, he peeps out again. Oh, it's Monsieur Vandal. It's Monsieur Vandal. How got he up hither?
What? My son Vandal? How comes this to pass?
Signor Vandal, what do you go to revenge in the little basket?
Oh, father, you be such cruel doctorkins. Ich bin also weary, also cold, but to be in dit little basket. Ich pray to help me.
He looks like the sign of the mouth without Bishopsgate gaping. A great face and a great head and nobody.
Why, how now, son? What, have your adamants drawn you up so far and there left you hanging twixt heaven and earth like Mahomet's sepulchre?
They did unkindly, whosoe'er they were. They plagued him there like Tantalus in hell, to touch his lips like the desired fruit, and then to snatch it from his gaping chaps.
A little further, Signor Vandal, and then you may put your head in the window and cast the bench.
Pray, Vada, that you help me to me. I pray, goody Vada.
Help you, but how?
At the rope.
Sir, I'll go in and see. If I can, I'll let him down to you.
And exit Anthony.
Do, gentle moosh. Why, but here's a jest. They say high climbers have the greatest falls. If you should fall, as how you'll do, I know not. Fair lady, I should doubt me of my son. Pray to the rope to hold. Art thou there, moosh?
Yes, sir.
Enter Anthony above.
Yes, sir. Now you may choose whether you'll stay till I let him down, or whether I shall cut him down.
Cut him down, Master Moosh. Cut him down, and let's see how he'll tumble.
My sauce, who asked your counsel? Let him down? What, with a cushion, too? Why, you provided to lead your life as did Diogenes, and for a tub to creep into a basket.
So thank you, Vada. I came here to your house and speak to the daughterkin.
Master Mendel, you are welcome out of the basket. I smell a rat. It was not for nothing that you lost me.
Skellum, you run away from me.
I thought so, Sirrah. You gave him the slip.
No, forsooth. I tell you how it was. When we came from Bucklesbury into Cornhill and I had taken the cloak, then you should have turned it down on your left hand. And so you should have gone right forward and so turned up again. And so you crossed the street and you, like an ass.
How now, rascal? Is your manners such? You ass, you dolt. Why led you him through Cornhill? Your way had been to come through Canning Street.
Why, so I did, sir.
Why, thou saidst thou wast in Cornhill.
Indeed, there were three faults. The night was dark, Master Mendel drunk, and I sleepy, that we could not tell very well which way we went.
Sirrah, I owe for this a cudgeling. But, gentlemen, sith things have fallen out so, and for I see Vandal quakes for cold, this night accept your lodgings in my house, and in the morning forward with your marriage. Come on, my sons. Sirrah, fetch up more wood.
And they exit. There are some really nice bits in this scene. I like the whole basket business. I think it's very nice. I'm liking actually Frisco in this scene a lot. Just going through the directions. I really like that Pisaro rises to it, and that really reminds me of every time my grandfather came down from Aberdeen. Is the moment he had arrived, there'd be an endless discussion about which route was taken and what's the best route, and it just reminded me of that, because he's going, you shouldn't have gone that way, you should have gone through Cornhill. It's just, I really like that because it's so sort of weirdly petty and not to the point. I also like that Pisaro just finds there's a cushion in the basket when the basket gets lowered, and they go, "Oh, you got a cushion. Were you staying long?" So yeah, there's a lot in this scene I really liked. Helen.
I mean, I like it when Frisco, it's take the money or open the box, and he's shouting, cut the rope. Anything for a bit of fun, a bit of excitement in his life.
Julie, are you waving?
Oh, yes. The left hand thing, I think what he might be trying to explain is that if they were facing each other and they both turned on their left hand, they would go off in opposite directions because he would take in the cloak from him, and that could lead to a real interesting bit of business with a dance move.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a huge amount of potential physical comedy in all of this, and it does feel like the script. We don't have a helpful stage direction saying when the basket is lowered or any of the those little details. We have some stage directions, but we actually don't have nearly enough, and there just must be so much more going on here than meets the eye. Eric.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad for enjoying it. Cut the rope. No, yeah, there's actually a game called Cut the Rope. That's a different game. It's a mobile app game. Anyway, yeah, it was very interesting to have Frisco going, yeah, we turn on the left, and then you have to go right, and then you have to go left, and then sort of it's very comedy cartoony kind of thing, where you kind of imagine him sort of, getting tangled in his own limbs or whatever.
Yeah, it's Lynn.
There's something very modern about this too, that I had to laugh at the line, why, sauce, who asked your counsel? Yeah, smart ass, who asked you? That's just like so modern. Yeah, and Pisaro is like everybody's grandpa here, right?
Yeah. If only we had any sympathy for any of the things he was trying to do. Francis.
Yeah, as funny as the scene is, there's a kind of nasty sting in the tail right at the end when Pisaro more or less says to Frisco, you're going to get a beating for this.
Yeah.
And it just makes Pisaro an even nastier character than he's been before.
Alan, then Lois.
Yeah, but surely the whole purpose of the low status servant is to be beaten. That's the way the system works.
Yeah.
Lois.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well, really. I mean, servants are always being either beaten or threatened with beating in these plays, including by people that I think we're meant to like. So I'm not sure it makes Pisaro any worse than he already is.
Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, I read an abridged version of Samuel Pepys' diaries for graduate school, and so this was in the subsequent century, 50 years later or something. Anyway, I mean, and Pepys talks about I had to beat my boy until my arm was sore, and then in a subsequent entry, my boy ran away. I can't figure out why. So I guess pretty severe corporal punishment was quite normative in this culture.
Yeah. Oh yes. I mean, we got endless plays with servants getting beaten. I mean, it does happen a lot. Yeah. And it may be an empty threat. Julie, then Eric.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying, and wives. I mean, that was not uncommon either. I mean,
yeah. Pepys used to be not regularly, but
when necessary for corrections.
Yeah, I think I have to say, talking about Pepys and Pisaro in the same breath, it feels awfully appropriate because he was a total arse as well, and beyond, in fact. Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can sort of imagine that if Frisco, like, depending on how you arrange the characters, if Frisco is standing next to Pisaro, then Pisaro would totally be going, you ass! You dolt! Why let you hit him through Cornhill? You should, like, you can imagine, like, the physical violence there as well. Not just sort of threatened violence.
Right. Well, let's go into some shorter scenes. We've had long sustained action, pretty much non-stop for the last two acts. Actually, an act and a half has been pretty much one unit of action, just with sort of beats to it rather than proper breaks. So Act 4, Scene 2, enter the three sisters.
Nay, never weep, Marina, for the matter. Tears are but signs of sorrow, helping not.
Would it not mad one to be crossed as I, being in the very height of my desire? The strangers frustrate all. Our true loves come, nay more, even at the door. And Harvey's arms spread as a rainbow, ready to receive me. And then my father meet us. Oh, God, God.
Weep who that list for me, in faith not I. Though I am youngest, yet my stomach's great. 'Tis not father, friends, nor anyone shall make me wed the man I cannot love. I'll have my will, in faith I will.
Let us determine, sisters, what to do. My father means to wed us in the morning, and therefore something must be thought upon.
We'll to our father, and so know his mind, aye, and his reason too. We are no fools, or babies neither, to be fed with words.
Agreed, agreed. But who shall speak for all?
I will.
No, I.
Thou wilt not speak for crying.
Yes, yes, I warrant you. That humour's left. Be I but moved a little, I shall speak. And anger him, I fear, ere I have done.
Enter Antony.
Whom? Antony, our friend, our schoolmaster.
Schoolmaster.
Now help us, gentle Antony, or never.
Now or never.
Never.
What is your hasty running changed to prayer? Say, where were you going?
Even to our father, to know what he intends to do with us.
'Tis bootless, trust me, that he is resolved to marry you to.
The strangers.
I' faith he is.
Faith he shall not. Frenchmen, be sure we'll pluck a crow together before you force me give my hand at church.
Come to our father, speech this comfort finds, that we may scold out grief and ease our minds.
Stay, Marina, and advise you better. It is not force, but policy must serve. The doors are locked, your father keeps the key, wherefore impossible to escape away. Yet I have plotted and devised a drift to frustrate your intended marriages, and to give you full possession of your joys. Laurentia, ere the morning's light appear, you must play Antony in my disguise.
Well,
Antony.
Antony, what of us?
What shall we wear?
Soft, soft. You are too forward, girls, I swear. For you, some other drift devised must be. One shadow for substance, this is she. Nay, weep not, sweets, repose upon my care, for all alike, or good or bad, shall share. You will have Harvey, you Heigham, and you Ned. You shall have all your wish, or I be dead. The sooner may one day the sea lie still, than once restrain a woman of her will.
Oh, sweet
Sweet
Antony.
Antony, how shall we quite thy
How should we
hire?
requite thee?
Not gifts, but your contentments I desire. To help my countrymen I cast about. The stranger's loves blaze fresh, but soon burn out. Sweet rest dwell here, and frightful fear abjure. These eyes shall wait to make your rest secure. For ere again dull night the dull eyes charms, each one shall fold her husband in her arms. Which if it chance we may avouch it still, women and maids will always have their will.
And they exit. And yes, Antony at the end there, sort of, you almost hear, in the background there going, we've got a motivation for Antony, and it's patriotism. You know, it's
Such as it is.
Yeah, kind of. It's an odd scene. There's some problems with the way that the three sisters sort of turn into the mice out of Bagpuss every so often. They just sort of go, "Oh, help us, Anthony, help us!" Sort of just that's quite disappointing. It's quite disappointing. Anthony comes up and hands them the plot, and sort of just going, yeah, "It would be better if yeah." Oh well. Just sort of marking things. Thoughts in the room? Francis.
Yeah, I kind of see Anthony as the sort of camp friend of the girls, who probably just, that's where you could present him in a production, advising them on dressing and makeup and, and that's why he's helping them, because he's just their best boyfriend.
Julie.
She dress one of them as him, one of them as Frisco, and put one in the basket and get them all out of the house that way.
Yeah. My guess is that Laurentia, who's probably the tallest or whatever, will dress up as Moosh. Actually, somehow get the key from Pisaro and then let everybody out. But we'll see.
So yes, Lois.
Well, what's good is that we haven't been told everything that he's got in mind, so there's still a bit of suspense. I mean, it can be a bit much if you get a very elaborate explanation of what's about to happen, and then you have to just watch a repeat of it.
Yes, you can only give an elaborate explanation of what's going to happen for it to go wrong, which is the structure of all heist films. But, if you explain how it's going to go and then it happens, no. Eric, are you waving or just exercising your wrist?
A bit of both. It's interesting how you get sort of like first the father plotted to bring the sort of suitors to get suitors anyway, the non-English suitors to his daughters. Then the daughters plotted to get the sort of English suitors to there's a lot of plotting going on. Just sort of not plot in itself, but like plotting from various parties, conspiring. So this plays one big conspiracy theory.
Yeah, plots and counterplots. Lois.
Yeah, and it still seems to me rather confusing that Pisaro never seems quite to have twigged. I mean, he kept thinking that the three foreign suitors were in the house, and then eventually they come to the house. He doesn't seem to me to be reacting the way I would expect if he sees his whole plan has completely fallen apart. Also, just a point from earlier, but did you notice that the girls call Delion Dandelion? Dandelion? Yeah.
Okay, we need to move on to complete the act. Act 4, Scene 3, enter Pisaro and Frisco.
Wooden coals brought up to make a fire? Is the meat spitted, ready to lie down? For bake meats, I'll have none. The world's too hard. There's geese too, now I remember me. A bid maudlin lay the giblets in paste. Oh, here's nothing thought upon but what I do. Stay, Frisco, see who rings. Look to the door. Let none come in, I charge, were he my father.
Exit Frisco.
I'll keep them while I have them. Frisco, who is it?
Frisco re-enters.
She is come with Faith.
Who is come?
Mistress Suchance, Mistress Moore's daughter.
Mistress Susan has. Oh, she must come in.
Hang him if he keep a wench. If the wench keep not him, so it is.
Enter Walgrave in woman's attire.
Welcome, Mistress Susan, welcome. I little thought you would have come tonight, but welcome, trust me, are you, to my house. What doth your mother mend? Doth she recover? I promise you I am sorry for her sickness.
She's better than she was. I thank God for it.
Now, for God, she is a sweet, smug girl. One might do good on her. The flesh is frail. Man hath infirmity, and such a bride were able to change age to hot desire. Hark you, sweetheart. Tomorrow are my daughters to be wed. I pray you, take the pains to go with them.
If, sir, you'll give me leave, I'll wait on them.
Yes, marry shall you, and 1,000 thanks. Such company as you, my daughters, want. Maids must grace maids when they are married. Is not a merry life, thinkst thou, to wed? For to embrace and be embraced, a bed?
I know not what you mean, sir. Here's an old ferret, polecat.
You may do, if you'll follow mine advice. I tell thee, mouse, I knew a wench as nice. Well, she's at rest, poor soul. I mean my wife. That thought, alas, good heart, love was a toy until, well, that time is gone and passed away. But why speak I of this? Hark ye, sweetie, there's more in wedlock than the name can show. And now, by Our Lady, you are ripe in years, and yet take heed, wench, there lies a pad in straw.
Old fornicator, had I my dagger, I'd break his costard.
Young men are slippery, fickle, wavering. Constant abiding graceth none but age. Then maids should now wax wise, and should do so, as to choose constant men. Let fickle go. Youths unregarded and unhonored, an ancient man doth make a maid a matron. And is not that an honor? How say you? How say you?
Yes, forsooth. Oh, old lust, will you never let me go?
You say right well, and do but think thereon, how husbands' honored years, long cared for wealth, wise stayedness, experienced government, doth grace the maid that thus is made a wife. And you will wish yourself such, on my life.
I think if I must turn womankind altogether and scratch out his eyes, for as long as he can see me, he'll never let me go.
But go, sweetheart, to bed. I do thee wrong. The lateness now makes all our talk seem long.
Exit Pisaro. Enter Anthony. Oh, who's that?
Oh, that must. Oh no, I don't exit at all, do I?
It doesn't exit at all.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's there. That's interesting. I will take that out.
How now, Whoosh? Be the girls abed?
Mathea, and like you, fain would sleep, but only tarrieth for her bedfellow.
Say you well. Come, light her to her chamber. A good rest wish I to thee. Wish so to me, then Susan and Pisaro shall agree. Think but what joy is near your bedfellow. Such may be yours. Take counsel of your pillow. Tomorrow we'll talk more. And so, good night. Think what is said may be, if all hit right.
What? Have I passed the pikes? Knows he not Ned? I think I have deserved his daughter's bed.
'Tis well. But this let me request, you keep unknown till you be laid to rest, and then a good hand speed you.
Never fear me, we to a bed shall never disagree.
Exeunt Anthony and Walgrave.
I stood still all this while and still could not speak for laughing. Lord, what a dialogue hath there been between age and youth. You do good on her, even as much as my Dutchman will do on my young mistress. Master, follow my counsel then, for send for Master Heigham to help him, for I'll lay my cap to 2pence that he will be asleep tomorrow night, at night when he should go to bed to her. Marry, for the Italian, he is of another humour, for there will be no dealings with him until midnight, for he must slaver all the wenches in the house at parting, or he is nobody. He hath been but a little while at her house, yet in that small time he hath licked more grease from our Magdalen's lips that would have served London kitchen stuff this 12-month. Yet, for my money, well fared the Frenchman. Oh, he's a forward lad, for he'll no sooner come from the church, but he'll fly to the chamber. Why, he'll read his lesson so often in the daytime that at night, he'll, like an apt scholar, he'll be ready to sell his old book to buy him a new. Oh, the generations of languages that our house will bring forth. Why, every bed will have a proper speech to himself, and have the founder's name written upon it in fair capital letters. Here lay, and so forth.
You'll be a villain still. Look who's at the door.
And exit Pisaro.
Nay, by the mass, you are Master Porter, for I'll be hanged if you lose that office, having so pretty a mortal under your keeping. I go, old Huddle, for the best news it's smelling out of Penfold that I know. Well, take heed. You mayhaps pick up worms so long that at length some of them get into your nose and never out after. But what an ass am I to think so, considering all the lodgings are taken up already, and there's not a dog kennel empty for a strange worm to breed in.
Exit Frisco. So yes, the ultimate question here is, we had a reference. Someone came in the previous session and said, "Oh yeah, can Susan come over? She's having a bad time." And the question of when will Susan arrive? And Susan arrives. It's Walgrave in disguise. The question is, of course, did Anthony set all this up by talking to the other person earlier, or does Susan actually exist? I don't think she does. I suspect it's all Anthony doing stuff behind the scenes that wasn't properly explicated earlier. But I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things happening that aren't necessarily fully explained until after they happen. So I suspect on that. I think Julie's waving first, then Helen, then Sarah, then Eric.
Moore came by and said since his wife just gave birth but is doing poorly, his daughter needed a place out of the house because the house was full of relatives. And that's where Susan comes from. You think that Susan must exist because they're neighbors and he would at least know, but...
Do you really think Pisaro's paying enough attention to anyone else but himself?
Well, he's certainly paying enough attention to this Susan.
Yeah.
Isn't he just? Yes.
What a creeper. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. There's an awful lot of... Helen, then Sarah, then Eric, then Lois.
What Julie said about Master Moore. But also, from a practical point of view, Pisaro is about to lose the 3 women of his household. He is going to need a wife to run his house while he runs his business. I mean, this is not, okay, it seems gross to us. It is not necessarily of itself gross.
I think his approach is gross. I think the intent could be rationalized.
Oh yes, I mean he's an unpleasant man, and the of course the joke is that he's that it's Walgrave, but the fact is that serial monogamy, with the wives getting younger and younger and the husbands getting older and older, until suddenly it reverses and a widow is marrying her husband's most handsome apprentice, is her late husband's most handsome apprentice. It wasn't unusual.
Sarah.
Yes, I love your idea that Susan might not exist, but I fear she does, because I remember yesterday one of the sisters, I can't remember which one, was talking about how she had a parrot. Mistress Moore had a parrot, and they wanted, because they were calling one of the suitors like, "Oh my God, he's such a parrot! He'll actually outdo Susan Moore's parrot." So I'm pretty sure she does exist. I'm just really interested if we're ever going to meet her, actually, if she's ever going to appear, or she's just going to be mentioned.
It's not much of a spoiler. We did go through all the names of the characters for this session at the beginning of the video. I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say there is no Susan.
Oh, okay.
In the play.
I wasn't paying attention. Oh, that's a shame. I'd kind of like her to come on at the end, and everyone go, "Oh, there's Susan."
And Pisaro marries her, and everyone Eric, Lois, then Lynn.
It was just fascinated by sort of Frisco's speech here about the sort of here lay and all that stuff. I mean, he basically tells Pisaro that his choices are crap. But like to his face, I thought it was an aside at the beginning, but then like sort of, I mean, it doesn't sound like an aside because Pisaro replies, and he just kind of goes, "Yeah, shut up, shut up. You villain," or whatever. I don't know. It's just fascinating how their relationship works. It's almost like sort of the sort of onion count thing that we had last week, but not as light.
Yeah, I have to say, there's part of me looking at Frisco's long speeches there of just going, well, Anthony exited the last scene and needs to re-enter again, as does Pisaro. Maybe we found a reason for why Frisco is doing this bit here, because I have to say, I sort of skimmed over it. It sort of went shumph. I found it a very difficult speech to sort of get into. Lois, then Lynn.
Yes, I think we'd have to spend quite a bit of time looking at that long speech of Frisco's to figure out exactly what he's talking about. But I think probably Pisaro has left, and then I think somebody knocks at some point during that speech, and Pisaro comes back on again at some point during it, and because that's why he says, "Look who's at door." Otherwise, it doesn't. Why would he be saying that? The other thing that makes the whole Susan impersonation a bit more plausible is, well, for one thing, I imagine that it's dark and that we've got candlelight, and having seen what it's like at the Wanamaker when a play is done by candlelight, you really do have a lot of trouble seeing people's faces. I can believe this. Also, I think we've had several references to Walgrave being short. So he'd be a more plausible woman than perhaps the other two guys.
Yes, I like the idea that Frisco... not Frisco, Pisaro exits much earlier, because that makes all of that dialogue a lot and speechifying. And then it's just Pisaro comes on and just going, "You're still talking," which gives us a nice gag. Lynn, then Alan, then we're moving on.
Yeah, even though we've talked about Susan, the next door neighbor, so evidently she's a real person, you can kind of imagine Anthony at some point earlier in the play, but off in a scene we don't get to see, snipping next door to the Moors and saying, "Look, I want to play this hilarious practical joke on Pisaro, and what you need to do is go and pretend that your wife's given birth and that your house is full of guests and that Susan needs a place to stay. That's all you need to do. And I'll explain this hilarious practical joke later." And Moore's like, "Oh, I'm always up for a practical joke, sure." Right? Is that too much?
It might be too much. Lois, do you have a response to that?
Well, I mean, I think it's just simpler to assume that Anthony knows that at some point Susan was meant to be coming over, and so he decides to use that and work it into his plot.
You're right.
Or maybe the author just didn't think it.
Yeah.
Just went, it'll sort itself out. I'm sure it'll be fine. Alan.
Yeah, I think that Frisco speech makes much more sense as an aside. And I think the simplest answer is there's an SFX at the end. Basically, there's another banging at the door, which is when Pisaro suddenly, "You'll be a villain still."
I do like the idea that Pisaro's not there. I think that just makes that...
It would just make it far more logical, because for Frisco to get away with what he's saying there direct to Pisaro would be effectively signing his own P45.
And he can't do it as an aside with Pisaro just standing there randomly. Yeah. It's just weird. I mean, we've had long monologue syndrome before, but with other people hanging about, but in a very different context. So yeah, I like that. Anyway, Act 5. Let's dive into it. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Anthony.
The day is broke. Mathea and young Ned, by this time, are so surely linked together that none in London can forbid the banns. Laurentia, she is near provided for, so that if Harvey's policy but hold, elsewhere the strangers may go seek them wise. But here they come.
Enter Pisaro and Brown.
6 o'clock, say you? Trust me, forward days. Hark you, Moosh, hie you to church, bid Master Buford be in readiness. Where go you, that way?
For my cloak, sir.
Oh, 'tis well. And Master Brown, trust me, your early stirring makes me muse. Is it to me your business?
Even to yourself. I come, I think, to bring you welcome news.
And welcome news, more welcome makes the bringer. Speak, good Master Brown, I long to hear them.
Then this it is. Young Harvey, late last night, full weak and sickly, came unto his lodging. from whence his sudden malady proceeds. 'Tis all uncertain. The doctors and his friends affirm his health is unrecoverable. Young Heigham and Ned Walgrave lately left him, and I came hither to inform you of it.
Young Master Harvey sick? Now, afore God, this news bites near the bone, for should he die, his living mortgaged would be redeemed. For not these 3 months doth the bond bear date. Die now, marry God in heaven defend it. Oh, my sweet lands, lose thee, I nay, lose my life. And, which is worst, I dare not ask mine own, for I take 22 in the 100, when the law gives but 10. But should he live, he, careless, would have left the debt unpaid. Then had the lands been mine, Pisaro's own, mine own land, mine own possession.
Nay, hear me out.
You're out too much already, unless you give him life and me his land.
Whether 'tis love to you or to your daughter, I know not certain. But the gentleman hath made a deed of gift of all his lands unto your beauteous daughter, fair Marina.
Ah, say that word again. Say it again. A good thing cannot be too often spoken. Marina, say you. Are you sure 'twas she? Or Mary, Marjorie, or some other maid?
To none but your daughter, fair Marina. And for the gift might be more forcible, your neighbour Master Moore advised us, who is witness of young Harvey's will, sick as he is, to bring him to your house. I know they are not fair, but do attend, that they may know what welcome they shall have.
What welcome, sir? As welcome as new life given to the poor condemned prisoner. Return, good Master Brown, assure their welcome. Say it, nay, swear it, for their welcome truly, for welcome are they to me which bring gold. See down who knocks. It may be there they are. Frisco, call down my sons. Bid the girls rise. Where's Moosh? What, is he gone or no?
Enter Laurentia in Antony's attire.
Oh, hear you, Sarah. Bring along with you Master Balsaro, the Spanish merchant.
Many Balsaros I'll to my love, and thanks to Antony for this escape.
Stay, take us with you. Hark, they knock again. Come, my soul's comfort, thou good news bringer. I must needs hug thee, even for pure affection.
Enter Harvey, brought in a chair. Moore, Brown, Alvaro, Vandal, Delion, and Frisco.
Lift softly, good my friends, for hurting him. Look cheerily, sir. You're welcome to my house. Hark, Monsieur Vandal and my other sons seem to be sad, as grieving for his sickness, but inwardly rejoice. Monsieur Vandal, Signor Alvaro, Monsieur Delion, bid my friend welcome. Pray bid him welcome. Take a good heart. I doubt not by God's leave you shall recover and do well enough. If I should think so, I should hang myself. Frisco, go bid Marina come to me.
Exit Frisco.
You are a witness, sir, of this man's will. What think you, Master Moore? What say you to it?
Just making sure I'm not muted. Sorry. Master Pisaro, follow mine advice. You see the gentleman cannot escape. Then let him straight be wedded to your daughter. So during lifetime she should hold his land. When now, being not kith nor kin to him, for all the deed of gift that he hath sealed, his younger brother will enjoy the land.
Marry my daughter? No, by our lady. Hear you, Alvaro. My friend counsels me, seeing young Master Harvey is so sick, to marry him incontinent to my daughter, or else the gift he hath bestowed is vain. Marry, and he recover? No, my son, I will not lose thy love for all his land.
Ah, hear you, Padre. Do not lose his lands, his £100 per anno. 'Tis worth to avar. Let him have the Maîtresse Marina in the marriage. 'Tis but for me to attend one day more. If he will not die, I shall give him such a drink, such a potion, shall make him give the buenas noches to all the world.
Alvaro, here's my keys. Take all I have, my money, plate, wealth, jewels, a daughter too. Now, God be thanked that I have a daughter worthy to be Alvaro's bedfellow. Oh, how I do admire and praise thy wit. I'll straight about it. Here you, Master Moore.
Enter Marina and Frisco.
Nay, in faith, he's sick. Therefore, though he be come, yet he can do you no good. There is no remedy but even to put yourself into the hands of the Italian. By the time that he hath passed his growth, young Harvey will be in case to come upon it with the size of fresh force.
And exit Frisco.
Is my love come and sick? Aye, now thou lovest me. How my heart joys. Oh God, get I my will. I'll drive away that sickness with a kiss. I need not feign, for I could weep for joy.
It shall be so. Come hither, daughter. Master Harvey, that you may see my love comes from a single heart unfeignedly. See here my daughter. Her I make thine own. Nay, look not strange. Before these gentlemen I freely yield Marina for thy wife.
Stay, stay, good sir. Forbear this idle work. My soul is labouring for a higher place than this vain transitory world can yield. What, would you wed your daughter to a grave? For this is but death's model in man's shape. You and Alvaro, happy, live together. Happy were I to see you live together.
Come, sir, I trust you shall do well again. Here, it must be so. God give you joy and bless you. Not a day to live together.
Oh, Chipolada, will you let Den Ander have your wife? Nemta yourself.
No, tush, you be the fool. Here be that shall spoil marriage of him. You have deceived me of the fine wench, Signor Harvey, but I shall deceive you of the much land.
Are all things sure, father? Is all dispatched?
What interest we have, we yield it you. Are you now satisfied, or rests there aught?
Nay, father, nothing doth remain but thanks. Thanks to yourself first, that disdaining me, yet loved my lands, and for them gave a wife. But next unto Alvaro let me turn, to courteous, gentle, loving, kind Alvaro, that rather than to see me die for love, for very love, would lose his beauteous love.
Signor Alvaro, give him the thing quickly. S'll make him die, autrement you shall lose the fine wench.
Oi me, che havas la ora appressata la mano al mio coro, o suem curato a te, e che longo sei tu avvinato, o cieli, o terra.
Am I awake, or do deluding dreams make that seem true, which most my soul did fear?
Nay, faith, father, it's very certain true. I am as well as any man on earth. Am I sick, sirs? Look here, is Harvey sick?
What shall I do? What shall I say? Did not you counsel me to wed my child? What potion? Where's your help, your remedy?
I hope more happy stars will reign today, and Don Alvaro have more company. Enter Antony.
Now, Anthony, this comes as it should. Everything sorts to his wished effect. Harvey joys Mal, my Dutchman and the French, thinking all sure, laugh at Alvaro's hat. quickly shall I mar that merry vein and make your fortunes equal with your friends?
Siramush, what answer brought you back? Will Master Balsaro come as I requested?
Master Balsaro? I know not who you mean.
Know you not, ass? Did not I send thee for him? Did I not bid thee bring him with the parson? What answer made he? Will he come or no?
Sent me for him? I say you sent not me. I neither went for him nor for the parson. I'm glad to see your worship is so merry.
There's a knock at the door.
Hence, you forgetful dolt. Look down who knocks.
Exit Anthony, enter Frisco.
Oh, Master, hang yourself. May never stay for sessions. Master Vandal, confess yourself. Desire the people to pray for you for your bride. She is gone. Laurentia is run away.
Oh, di diablo! Di malfortune! It's Mistress Laurentia gone away.
Oh, first tell me that I am a lifeless corse. Tell me of doomsday, and tell me what you will before you say Laurentia is gone.
Master Vandal, how do you feel yourself? What, hang the head? Fine man, for shame, I say. Look not so heavy on your marriage day.
Oh, blame him not, his grief is quickly spied. That is a bridegroom, and yet he wants his bride. We'll pause there before lots of other people enter and we all start talking to ourselves. So we have the conclusion, at least, of the Harvey side of things and the uncovering of the Laurentia side of things. So, yes, we've got lots of business. We've got Frisco coming in and out of the house like a pop gun, or out of various rooms like a pop gun. And, lots of things going on. Julie, I think, is first, then Alan.
It looks like Moore is up for a practical joke because he must have been in on this. I mean, he's the one who, swears to it that he's a witness to the will, and unless he's really adult, like Pisano is. I mean, this guy shows up, and he wasn't sick yesterday, and he's sick now. I mean, I guess it's not impossible, but it sounds like he's in on it.
Yeah, and we've also got Brown who's in on it as well. I mean, we've got all these additional outside actors. People must really not like Pisaro. I wonder why.
We all owe him money.
You just get the impression the entire community has decided, we don't like this guy. He wants something. Let's make sure he doesn't get it. That might be an exaggeration. Alan, then Lois.
Well, I think the answer to the Brown and Moore question is they're probably Daily Mail readers. And therefore, they're foreigners, therefore they're automatically below the salt. But I think that scene, there's obviously an awful lot of missing stage directions of bleak business. Because we got that sort of sudden recovery of Harvey with absolutely no cues in there whatsoever as to what that was going on.
Yeah. It was sort of after the fact of going, oh, he must leap up and do something around about here. And
full tap routine across the stage or something.
Because there's sort of, it's not very well signposted in the text as it stands. Lois, then Francis, then Lynn.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to work out, whether it comes at the end of Harvey's speech that rather than to see me die for love, for very love, would lose his beauteous love, because Vandal and Delion do start. Well, Vandal laughs. Delion says, quick, give him some poison. Then Alvaro bursts into quite a lot of Italian. And I'm not sure. I mean, it almost looked to me as if he might have somehow accidentally drunk his own poison or something. I don't know what's going on there, but he's obviously terribly upset, more than you'd expect, really. I don't know what's going on, but it's clearly at that point, somewhere around there, that something happens.
Yeah, loses beauteous love, and he leaps up and in recovery. Somewhere around there would make sense. But it's kind of thing I would make sure the priest has definitely turned up, and I know once you've sort of made that public declaration that things might be more in the bag. But I would have thought get it signed and sealed before you do the tap dance routine, mate. Francis, then Lynn.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a legal point. So Harvey mortgaged his lands to Pisaro in return for money. And if Harvey dies, the lands revert back to Harvey's family. Is that right?
Mm.
So is that the law of the time?
Well, it depended on the deed.
Right.
It would depend very much on the terms of it. But obviously what we've got is something that fails if Harvey dies.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean they're entailed?
Very possibly. But on the other hand, the entailment is not such that he can't make them over to his wife. He can't give a valid deed of gift out of the family to someone to whom he is not married. But he can, whether he's giving Marina a life interest only or not, I don't know. But he certainly seems able to give it to her. I mean, I see that during this period where he's slumped in the armchair and Alvaro has said, yeah, by all means, let her enrich herself with a widow's portion before I marry her. That there's an awful lot of paperwork going on. And this really, really feeble Harvey is putting his signature on an enormous number of pieces of paper because they are getting a marriage contract signed, sealed, delivered, deed of gift done. And as soon as it's all done, he wakes up and Alvaro starts cursing in a very strange language.
Yeah, I like that idea. That would tidy up a lot of sort of problems of how we're the logic of the scene, because it gives us again additional business and additional stuff to be going on that I quite like. Was it Lynn next?
Yeah, my question was the same as Francis. The why doesn't Pisaro want Harvey to die? I mean, if Harvey dies with his lands entailed, with his lands mortgaged, the debt doesn't just go away, does it? His family has to pay the debt off before they can start enjoying the income from the land. Is that, or does
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it was secured. I think the debt will have been secured on the land, but if he no longer has the right to the land, then there's no security.
And the lender just eats the loss?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
That's what's implied anyway.
Certainly. Yeah.
I'll go Lois, Alan, then Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember reading that a lot of that actually creditors suffered a lot more in many ways than debtors because of desperate debts. I mean, debts that was a sort of technical term, I think, for debts that you could simply not get the money for. You'd lent money and you never got it back. So that might be partly what he's thinking of. I was thinking, looking over it again, that probably during that whole longish speech of Harvey's, he is in fact recovering. I mean, he seems to be kind of gloating all this about how you loved my lands, even if you didn't love me and so on. That sounds more like what you would say if you were totally secure in your situation and felt you'd got everything you wanted. So I think he's mocking everybody in that speech.
Oh, yeah, so he could actually leap up quite early, couldn't he? It could be, nay, father, nothing doth remain but thanks, and grabs him. And then, now, Alvaro, let me turn to you and, and hug him and do, that I quite like, yeah. I mean, the script does not give us any actual proper indications where that kind of business is supposed to be going on. So, Alan, then Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it was explicitly stated in the script that the bond has another month to run before it's mature, and it's only when that maturity date is reached that Pisaro gets rights to the land.
Eric.
Well, I think this was one of the Star Chamber cases we did, but there was one case. Sorry, Helen just looking up.
You've said the magic words, Eric.
where the previous owner of the land had died. I think it was Burbage in this case, James Burbage. and had passed it on to his son, but he didn't really have the right to because he was kind of in debt or renting or something, and there was that whole legal issue there. So I'm guessing that this is the problem. If Harvey dies, or the person who inherits him dies, it wouldn't go to Marina or to Pisaro. It would sort of be tied up in legal business for quite a while, I'm guessing.
Excellent. We must complete the play. We must. It is the law. So, having had that revelation occur, the second revelation that Laurentia is scarpered, at which point enter Heigham, Laurentia, Balsaro, and Anthony. And Lynn is stepping in to read Harvey for me.
Master Pisaro and gentlemen, good day to you all. According, sir, as you requested me, this morning I made repair to the tower, whereas Laurentia now was married. And, sir, I did expect your coming hither, yet in your absence we performed the rites. Therefore, I pray, sir, bid God give them joy.
He tells you true. Laurentia is my wife, who, knowing that her sisters must be wed, presuming also that you'll bid her welcome, are come to bear them company to church.
You come too late. The marriage rites are done. Yet welcome, 20-fold into the feast. How say you, sirs? Did I not tell you true? These wenches would have us, and none of you.
I cannot say for these, but on my life, this loves a cushion better than a wife.
And reason too, that cushion fell out right, else hard had been his lodging all last night.
Master Pisaro, why stand you speechless thus?
Anger and extreme grief enforceth me. Pray, sir, who bade you meet me at the tower?
Who, sir? Your man, sir. The Moosh, here he is.
Who? I, sir? Mean you me? You're a jesting man.
Thou art a villain, a dissembling wretch, worser than Antony, whom I kept last. Fetch me an officer. I'll hamper you and make you sing at Bridewell for this trick. For well he hath deserved it, that would swear he went not forth a doors at my appointment.
So swear I still. I went not forth today.
Why, Aaron Liar, wert thou not with me?
How say you, Master Brown? Went he not forth?
He, or his likeness did, I know not whether.
What likeness can there be besides himself?
Myself, forsooth, that took his shape upon me. I was that moose that you sent from home, and that same moose that deceived you affected to possess this gentleman, which to attain I thus beguiled you all.
I was muted. This is excellent. This is fine as a fiddle. You, Master Heigham, got the wench in Moosh's apparel. Now let Moosh put on her apparel and be married to the Dutchman. How think you? Is it not a good vice?
Master Pisaro, shake off melancholy. When things are helpless, patience must be used.
Talk of patience, I'll not bear these wrongs. Go, call down Matt and Mistress Susan Moore. 'Tis well that of all three we have one sure.
Mistress Susan Moore? What do you mean, sir?
Whom should I mean, sir, but your daughter?
You're very pleasant, sir, but tell me this. When did you see her that you speak of her?
Aye, late yesternight when she came here to bed.
You are deceived. My daughter lay not here, but watched with her sick mother all last night.
I'm glad you are so pleasant, Master Moore. You're loath that Susan should be held a sluggard. What, man, 'twas late before she went to bed, and therefore time enough to rise again.
Master Pisaro, do you flout your friends? I well perceive if I had troubled you, I should have had it in my dish ere now. Susan lie here. I'm sure when I came forth, I left her fast asleep in bed at home. 'Tis more than neighborhood to use me thus.
A bed at your house? Tell me I am mad. Did I not let her in doors myself? spoke with her, talked with her, and canvassed with her, and yet she lay not here. What say you, sirrah?
She did. I brought her to a chamber.
I say he lies. That saith so in his throat.
Mass, now I remember me. I lie indeed.
Oh, how this frets me. Frisco, what say you?
What say I? Mary, I say if she lay not here, there was a familiar in her likeness for sure. My master and she were so familiar together that he had almost shot the gout out of his toes, and to make the wench believe he had one trick of youth in him. Yet now I remember me, she did not lie here, and the reason is because she doth lie here and is now in bed with Mistress Mathea, witness whereof I have set to my hand and seal, and mean presently to fetch here.
Exit Frisco.
Do so, Frisco. Gentlemen and friends, now shall you see how I am wronged by him. Lay she not here? I think the world's grown wise. Plain folks as I shall not know how to live.
Enter Frisco.
She comes, a-hole.
Enter Mathea and Walgrave in woman's attire.
Nay, blush not, wench, fear not, look cheerfully. Good morrow, father, good morrow, gentlemen. Nay, stare not, look you here, no monster I, but even plain Ned, and here stands Mat, my wife. Know you her, Frenchman? But she knows me better. Father, pray, father, let me have your blessing, for I have blessed you with a goodly son. 'Tis breeding here, a faith, a jolly boy.
Ah, I am undone, a reprobate, a slave, a scorn, a laughter, and a jesting stock. Give me my child, give me my daughter from you.
Master Pisaro, 'tis in vain to fret and fume and storm. It little now avails. These gentlemen have, with your daughter's help, outstripped you in your subtle enterprises, and therefore, seeing they are well descended, turn hate to love and let them have their loves.
Is it even so? Why then, I see that still, do what we can, women will have their will. Gentlemen, you have o'erreached me now, which never before you any yet could do. You, that I thought should be my sons indeed, must be content, since there's no hope to speed. Others have got what you did think to gain, and yet, believe me, they have took some pain. Well, take them, there, and with them God give joy. And, gentlemen, I do entreat tomorrow that you will feast with me for all this sorrow. Though you are wedded, yet the feast's not made. Come, let us in, for all the storms are past, and heaps of joy will follow on as fast. Like hell.
I get the impression that Balsaro at the end there is saying that through floods of tears. It's just like, yeah, I'll be, feast with me.
I picture him like trying to grab the Italian's poison as he goes by.
Take it. Yes.
I mean,
I'll give you a feast.
Yeah, there's a couple of points where it's I just love that line, Master Pisaro. Why stand you speechless thus? I mean, it's just, you just know that he's absolutely stock still, rictus, and because I can't speak for anger. I like Frisco's bit of just going more. Let you dress up as somebody else and marry somebody else. Let's see what other combinations we can have. I also just love Anthony's line, Mass, now I remember me. I lie indeed. I like that. Yes, sorry, I forgot I am lying. Oh. There's some really, really nice bits in this. Amongst all the other things. Eric.
Yeah, Frisco kind of starts off as like this really weird clown character, and then becomes sort of like low-key in a play, sort of messing around with everything, just kind of like, yes, more chaos, yay.
Yeah, I mean, Frisco, I mean, like many of the characters here, just sort of flit from plot convenience to things.
Yeah.
So there isn't a through line. You know, he goes from being one sort of clown at the beginning to doing a really slightly creepy plot function in the middle to being quite fun at the end. He's really quite fun in this last third. I like Frisco here. I've liked a few bits of Frisco earlier, the odd line here or there, but here there's some nice stuff coming through. I think now that we've got to the end, I'm sort of looking at this going, there's something here, but there's an awful lot of others. I feel like this is one to mess with. I feel like there's some good bones in here. There's some really nice comedy setups, but there's an awful lot of work to be done. I don't think I would plonk this down on the stage as is. I think I would dramaturg the hell out of this. Alan.
I think actually that the whole thing has almost got to be played as fast and at that sort of pace, with all of the cross-dressing that's going on. But my major reservation is that the whole damn thing is so xenophobic.
Well, I wonder...
the basic concept is coming from that rather boring trope.
Well, no, the thing is, actually, in terms of the actual jokes they deliver from the second half, you know, from about after the first third or so, the plot itself isn't, you know, it's you have these people against these people, and actually it's constantly there in the background, but it's not actually structurally vital. And so I'm wondering whether there's something that at least could take the edge off it, quite a lot. Because it's not like they're constantly making foreigner gags all the way through. Actually, it's just that's the situation that they're in. So yeah, I'm thinking that adjustments could be made. I'll go to Lois, then Lynn, then Julie, then Helen.
Yeah, I think probably what the author's trying to do really is develop the Jew of Malta into a comedy. I mean, it seems to me that Pisaro is essentially Barabbas with only with 3 daughters instead of 1, and plotting every imaginable kind of evil. But then, because it's a comedy, suddenly at the end coming round to the whole thing. I mean, it's the problem if you take anything at all seriously is that he's even prepared to connive at some poisoning somebody. I mean, he's an absolutely appalling character, but somehow or other, I think he's got to be folded into the Barabbas character. And The Jew of Malta was an incredibly popular play, I think, because people like the sort of villain you love to hate and all the intrigues that Marlowe or somebody wove around that.
Yeah, I do wonder about whether there's something that this text, again, we've had a few plays like this where you're going, this is in response to something else, and it's doing something, and it may be trying to do something a bit clever that we're not quite seeing, that is slightly shifting its angle for us. And I think that's a good point, is that it is leaping off. Admittedly, a text at least we have. It's not like sometimes we're stumbling in the dark going, this is responding to something we don't have. This is not helpful. Lynn, then Julie, and then Helen.
Yeah, there's a couple of really what I want to say, tantalizing moments where there's some cultural exploration going on that I find really interesting. When the Walgrave, I guess, is dressed up as Susan from next door, and Pisaro is kind of hitting on her or saying, old guys make the best husbands, and how creepy that is. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when men, just as an experiment, create dating profiles with a female avatar and pretend they're women on the internet, and they can do that for like a couple of days before it gets so creepy they just shut the experiment down.
Is that
right? So it's sort of like a man getting to experience what it's like to be a woman in that, and I think that can be really revelatory, and something completely different. But I find it very sort of clever structurally that in the end, one daughter is married because there's been a public declaration that they're going to get married. Maybe there's documents signed, maybe there is not. But it's like it's that public contract that makes it a marriage. Laurentia has evidently sneaked off to the church with her lover, so it's the ceremony that makes that marriage. And Mathea and Heigham, or anyway, Mathea and her English boyfriend have consummated their relationship, and therefore they're married. So those are the three things that in this culture make a marriage: the public declaration, the ceremony, the consummation. And just I thought it was very clever structurally that they each get their marriage from that different angle.
Julie, then Helen.
Oh, I've blanked. No, I was no, I got so interested in what you were saying that I totally blanked on what I was going to say. Come back to me and I'll think about it.
Helen.
Yeah, it suddenly occurred to me that you could, in fact, take out the nationalities entirely.
That was what I was going to say.
Two minds with but a single thought.
Yes,
but
they can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, you go for it.
They could still be the fat guy, the lechery guy, and the what was the other one? And the stylish guy or whatever he is. He's all into his fripperies, and I mean, but just make it that rather than make it their nationalities that make them that way, and they're just not the preferred suitors.
Helen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Cool. I mean, there's other things as well that I'm just about what Anthony's doing, and how Anthony functions in this, and the various people who interact, and more at the end coming on, who seems to be entirely oblivious to actually, or is he lying? I to the whole, Susan does exist. She's at home. She's fulfilling a care role, but he does seem genuinely. What are you talking about? No, she didn't come over. So there's something odd there. So I'm interested in ways that Anthony's antics and his interaction with other people might be more. I wonder whether Anthony should be a master of disguise and be doing some of the other, like some of these other people who come in and say things should actually just be Anthony with a moustache. I'm just trying to make a different. I'm playing around with that. Eric, then Lynn.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the what do you call it? Monster Mord could just be there, like with like sort of with the phone, just going, yeah, see, she's at home, I can call her, like, and then the phone rings in the other room because Walgrave has like borrowed sort of her phone or something. And I don't know, just something like that is just like
Lynn.
Yeah, dramaturg the hell out of it. It's kind of exactly, it's a much better phrase than what I had in mind. But yes, I was thinking yesterday, if I were asked to adapt this, I would adapt it heavily. And I just had a thought flip through my mind. So the question of Anthony, the problem of Anthony, what if, as long as we're dramaturging the hell out of it, what if we made that character, instead of a tutor, kind of like a governess? What if we made that a woman? And part of her motivation is female solidarity. It's like, I want my girls to get what they want because I understand where they're coming from. So she's more of a governess than a tutor. That's maybe not period authentic, but I think that I would like that dynamic. I think.
I mean, it would fit well with also Pisaro's sort of paranoia, probably, of keeping men away from tutoring his daughters. I mean, there's something quite nice about that, and that creates interesting questions about when you're disguising and cosplaying as Anthony later on. Lois.
Yeah, it's a good idea. The only thing is, given Pisaro's lechery, I think you'd have a whole other strand of plot getting in there.
Careful casting, I'm sure, could avoid that problem.
You just have to make her my age.
They mentioned they have a cook named Maudlin. I mean, he could be all over her too. I mean, it's but they're not marriageable.
Yeah, because in a sense, this question of sometimes with comedies, you're asking about whether you like people or don't like people. The point is of the place that you don't like Pisaro at all. I mean, in a sense, he can be as horrible as we like, because he is thwarted at the end. and so there is fun to be had with that to a degree. Eric.
Well, also in the context of the governess idea, if Laurentia switches clothing with Anthony, then you've got, or Antonia, or whatever you want to, whatever name you use for that character, it would make more sense, because then the father just sees the uniform rather than the actual like sort of person.
Helen.
Or if Antonia is the governess who is sacked, but comes back as a man.
As
And
Mush.
so Moosh is a woman pretending to be a man.
You see that I feel that this play is actually a play that isn't complicated enough. It looks complicated, but it actually isn't that complicated most of the time. It's a lot of the incidents are the same incidents played out in slightly different variations, and actually to make it more complicated might be a good thing. Sarah.
Are we on to final thoughts now?
We are on the borders, the lower edges of it. I think we can start going into it. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, because my final thought is pretty much exactly what you just said. Because normally with comedies, I really enjoy the first 2/3 of a comedy, and then we get to the end and I'm like, oh my God, no. Because, it's all about resolution, and the resolution of a comedy from this era usually involves taking away a lot of agency from the women. And because it's a comedy, the women have usually shown quite a bit of agency earlier on in the play, and then it kind of all gets taken away from them at the end. What I really love about this play is the fact that the women retain their agency, and they get to marry who they want to marry, which is just great. And they all get to marry who they want to marry, because usually it's like, oh, there's the heroine and she gets to marry who she wants to marry, and then there's the sisters who are married off to whoever. I really enjoy the plot of this, but it's like the reverse of what I normally find, because I've actually struggled with this quite a lot as we've been reading it, because I just can't really get on with the characterization, and it's like you're right, it's not complicated, it's not complex enough. Like the actual plot is fairly banging. I really enjoyed it, but we're not like it's fine to kind of not like Pisaro because he's a villain. He's actually the most interesting character, though, and that is kind of a little bit problematic, because all those suitors are absolute arses, and I'm talking about the heroes, not the not the comedy foreigners. But I think because it's actually quite simple and it has this quite effective, satisfying ending, there's actually so much you could do. I mean, like Lynn's idea was brilliant with Anthony. Oh my God, you could go off in so many directions with that, with the cross-dressing. It would be fantastic. And also, somebody, it might have been Alan, said earlier something that I'd already thought, that actually you could just get out of, you could just lose all the xenophobia by just not making the preferred suitors, the father's preferred suitors, foreign. You could just get rid of all of that, because it's slightly uncomfortable. It actually also makes the daughters, because they're so xenophobic as well, it actually just makes me kind of not like anybody at all. And you do want to be rooting for them. But if you got rid of that and you change the sex of Anthony, I think, and there'd be maybe a few other things you could do with that as well. You've actually got a really cracking play here, but it needs to be made, the characterizations need to be made more complex to make it really sing, I think.
Okay, well, we started final thoughts, so let's carry on. Francis, you missed the hanging of the basket session last time. Any final thoughts?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm quite glad I missed that yesterday's session, because reading it, I found the play kind of sags in the middle there, but otherwise, I've really enjoyed it, and like you say, there's a lot of potential here, and I like a lot of the ideas that have been presented here about how to make it more acceptable to a modern audience. Not making the three foreign suitors actually foreign, making Anthony a governess. Because there's a lot of potential there. Yeah.
I'll play devil's advocate on that point later on. See if anyone else does first. Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, there's a part of me going, I want to see this at pace just to see how it kind of like works, because we've been stopping and starting and stuff, so then like not necessarily for the xenophobia, because obviously those bits are still problematic as fuck. Anyway, can't we say that? I don't know. Yeah, anyway, and sort of but like just to see how the characters evolve from, or if they evolve at all, from A to B, because like you've got the sort of from the beginning to the end, because like Frisco's evolution is really kind of reverse. Usually the clowns get more creepy as you go along, not the other way around. And sort of, I don't know, there are some really good gags in there, like cut the rope. Just like, I don't know, I don't know how it would work as a sort of, you can't really do it as a second look, I think, just because second look, a second look rather than like just a read at pace, because of the basket and the hanging of the basket. But it's just, I'm curious to see this as is at pace and then start editing and adapting the hell out of it.
Helen, any final thoughts?
I think you've got to make something more of the topography. I think you need some sort of projected map with little Pac-Man figures zooming up and down the various streets. That we didn't mention, there's an awful lot more that didn't get brought out. I mean, there's the sign of the mouth in Bishopsgate and all sorts of stuff that I know nothing about, but it's obviously tremendously relevant. And I think there is a play here that would work. I'm very taken by the fact that the women actually achieve things without, and actually appear in Act 5 with something to say, because the number of heroines who sort of disappear in Act 5 and don't even have a line. So I quite approve of this play. I mean, I'm not particularly bothered by the xenophobia because it's so much a part of Elizabethan England.
Yeah, but you don't want to put that in front of an audience.
No.
That's the thing. The moment this is the thing with the comedy. The moment you do it again now, the audience has to laugh if it's sold as a comedy. Otherwise, it fails automatically.
But if possibly you had three suitors who were of Pisaro's generation, whereas the girls picked the young men. Is ageism allowed?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll go to Lois on that, or another final thoughts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems to me that whatever you do, you end up having to rewrite most of the lines of the three unsuccessful suitors, because they're just completely made up of, terrible English and this mixture of English and whatever they're supposed to be speaking, and then the women's comments are mostly on how stupid they are and what awful things they say. I mean, all of that, it seems to me, would have to be rewritten. You have to think of something else. And I don't know, I mean, the idea that three older men are awful just because they're older, I think there'd have to be some other reason why they were awful. I mean, it would involve quite a bit of rewriting. You could probably do it. I mean, anybody could do it. Think of 3 different ways of being obnoxious and unmarriageable. But I mean, I think it would work fairly well as a play that's about three clever girls and their clever either governess or gay friend outwitting their horrible father, and three awful men. And then the three young suitors could be relatively played down instead of being played up. It was just sort of three reasonably suitable young men that at least are young. I don't know. Because otherwise it seems to me you'd also have to do something with the young men who are really not terribly appealing as they are.
But maybe we should ask the question: is the play? Are any of the characters supposed to be, nice? Is this play doing something else about nationality and character? And is there something satirical going on that we're not getting? Is there irony being played more? I'm putting this out there because it's not an answerable question, but there might be other things going on here that we're not getting. Certainly not at a first read. There is the additional question about we don't necessarily have to find three alternative iterations of the foreign suitors. One could remain foreign. Is one okay? As opposed to three, if that makes sense. I'm just putting it out there, because I have to do that. It's my job. Julie, any final thoughts?
Well, they did have other qualities that made them reprehensible. I mean, made them unattractive. I mean, they commented on how Vandal is fat, and I can't remember if it's the Frenchman or the Italian who slobbers over all the women, so he's lecherous. And I mean, you could have a fat guy, a lecherous guy, and a stinky guy, or something. I mean, I think the third one had bad breath or something. But that's which is I mean, they could even be their age and still be gross. Odious personal habits are still fair game, I think. But no, I'm sitting here thinking I want to write a backstage of this where there's a group trying to put it on, and that what time period do I want to set it in? And I'm like, ooh, set it in the 70s with 70s stereotypes. And you can have the dude who's way too old to have the chest hair and the gold medallions.
Because of course there is a danger that by trying to replace one set of dangerous caricatures, that we simply replace them with another set of caricatures. And if the point is that they are caricatures, that maybe everyone's caricature. Does anyone have an interior life really?
Yeah.
He asks. Just putting it out there. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just sort of meditating a little more on the three undesirable suitors. Yeah, I think that Lois is right. You'd have to do a bunch of rewriting because so much of their unsuitability seems to turn on the fact that they are not Englishmen for my money. You'd have to have a new title. There's that. But I think there's also plenty that's in the text already that implies that these are mercenary matches. So you could play that up. And even you don't even really have to lean too heavily into they are the unsuitable suitors are unattractive or just inappropriate matches if you put a lot of emphasis on the fact that they don't really care for the girls. I mean, they're cute, they're fine. We like them, they're attractive, but if you really lean on the fact that Pisaro is rich and these are financially advantageous matches, I think that's enough to make those guys the ones we don't want. They want the girls for their money.
Well,
If you're replacing a lot of lines, I mean, because obviously we have to, and you can't just make it what they're saying, because what they're saying in those is fairly straightforward. If you want to make them unattractive in a verbal way, I mean, personality wise, one of them could be, oh, you're so beautiful. You're like so many other girls that I've been with. And you won't mind after we're married, of course, that I keep a mistress or something like that. And, I mean, just don't worry. I won't put, I won't put too much stress on you. I have mistresses for that. And one could be like, I expect you to look after the house and the business and the children every time that I'm off on business and I'm away for 8 months of every year. And, I mean, just because that way it is more of a business, or there are various different ways that they're undesirable or, less desirable as husbands.
Lois.
Well, the other thing you could do is simply the three English suitors presumably have known the girls for an awful lot longer, and possibly, these are three relationships that have actually gone quite a long way, and the girls have always thought they would marry these guys. I mean, if you built that up, then it wouldn't really matter what the other people were like. I mean, they'd be interlopers that their father was foisting on them for money. Because the other thing is, of course, that since the Englishmen also want to marry the girls for their money, essentially, or to get their mortgages back, there's that interesting speech that Anthony made at the very beginning, that puzzled me, in which I think you explained quite well. I almost wondered if one should transpose that to the end and have it spoken to explain why, even though it looks as if these young men are marrying the girls to get their mortgages back, it all makes perfect sense anyway. I mean, the Antony character could say it at the end of the play instead of at the beginning.
Alan, any final thoughts?
I must admit that despite all the discussion we've had about potentially removing the foreignness of the older suitors, by the time you've taken out the fractured language, I'm not sure that you've got an awful lot left that you could actually describe as being the same play. I think fine. Julie's concept of do this as a backstage thing with a few bits and pieces taken out of this and counterpointing that with modern actors could be an approach. And I must admit, I would tend to play up the three younger suitors as a bunch of hooray Henrys, or in American terms, frat boys. But quite honestly, I don't think there were any characters in there for whom I felt any real sympathy. And, I think this is another one of the ones that, yes, we've taken it out of the box. We've taken it for a trip around the block. Fine. Now let's just put it aside quietly.
That's not the exercise, Alan. I'll just keep saying that. That's not the exercise. The entire universe already says that. We don't need to say it again. Looking for options. Julie, then Eric.
With the one thing that we haven't even thought of before, or at least I don't remember hearing about the three guys the girls like, is that with these girls, probably those guys' most attractive feature is that the girls know they can manage them. They want their way. They want a guy they can manage. And these guys, I mean, obviously they're not real good with money. They're not real good with, so it is a possibility that that's one of their motivations, is that these are guys they can take control over.
Eric, then Lynn.
I was going to make a very different suggestion, but I don't know if it would work. Just sort of like, you could do this as a sort of, Twitter play? I don't know how you would call it. Like sort of have an interactive thing where you've got sort of, you could break it if you wanted to, but like sort of three guys interested in three girls, and then just sort of have the similar setup, but then, you've got like GPS maps of where they are, and you have to for example, where they get lost, you have to like follow them around, help them out, and all that stuff, and see how it plays out in a real context, or like in an online context, because I don't know, like the internet is a scary place, and that could actually happen on the internet if you think about it. I mean, I don't know.
Lynn.
I was thinking of a version of Julie's idea. It's maybe not quite the women kind of have a they know how these guys tick, and so that they can manage the relationships. But there are hints later in the play that the couples are actually temperamentally well matched. Marina is the weepy one, like, oh, my boyfriend, everything is going to me, boo, boo, boo. And Harvey's the one that's like, oh, my heart is broken, my life is over. And everyone believes it when he seems to be dying of a broken heart. They're the emo ones. And Laurentia is the like, okay, we got a problem, we got to have a solution. How are we going to fix this? She's the practical one. And Mathea is kind of the tough one. They're like, not going to make me cry. I know I'm the youngest, but I'm not going to make me cry. I'm not crying over this. So, and she's the one who is the most sex positive. She's like, she consummates her relationship and is going to force her father's hand. So I think you could play that up, that there's something temperamentally similar about the individuals that end up getting together, and that'll make us feel like these matches were meant to be.
I think there is a boldness to some of the characterization that we've not picked out in this reading that a bit more work will bring out. Helen, very briefly.
I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that from one point of view, these girls are marrying above them. Their father is a merchant, albeit rich. They are marrying into landed gentry. And socially, that's a step up.
Right. Well, sometimes you pick up a play and you go, this is box fresh, just put it on get some actors and put it on a stage. Sometimes you go, this play is material that I can hack and hew to my heart's content because the author's dead. There's some really nice material in here. There's some good bones in places. There are some big problems, but that's not necessarily, they're not insuperable problems. And there's certainly stuff to nick. I think every play should have someone climbing into a basket and be hung over the scene for a good 10 minutes at least, because that's always good. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
That cushion fell out right.